Always believe. Believe in the unseen and believe in miracles. And the more that you accept what you believe, the more it's going to come. It's like a muscle. We got to work it out. So if you want to start believing, just ask for a sign and then believe, because they always have our back.
Welcome to Signs from the Other Side with Fern Ronay. I'm your host, Fern Ronay, and this is the place to share stories of signs and messages received from the other side. Real quick before we get started, if you enjoy reading about signs and if you enjoy fiction like Bridget Jones and Sex and the City, you might enjoy my books, Better in the Morning and Better Believe It. And if you like this podcast, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe in Apple Podcasts and tell a friend too. Thank you so much for listening, and on to the show. Ashley Page once worked in the stressful world of investment banking, but left to stay home with her young children. It was after the birth of her second child, when in the bout of a late-term postpartum depression, that she sought deeper healing and was led down a path that has taken her to where she is now, a world away from banking and helping others as a Reiki master and tarot card reading, among other many, many hats. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for doing this. I have to ask, has anyone from any of your old banking friends reached out and be like, wow, you're doing something very different now?
No, because when you're recording this, all those tariff stuff is going on. So I am sure they are very busy. It's a busy day. But yeah, I am still in touch. But I think in general, people in my life are like, I can't believe that you are doing this now. And here I am.
Can you describe the moment? So you have two children after the birth of your second one. Was there a moment, or what led you to be like, I need something different in terms of healing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. At the time, I was very involved with the local mothers club, and I was president of the board. And with that came a lot of stress. And it shouldn't be stress. It should be fun. It should be like moms getting together and meeting each other. But it turned really ugly really quickly. And I decided to step away from that position and resign, still remain active with the group, but just step away. But that president role filled so much time. I knew I needed to do something, and I took it as a sign that it's time to pursue something else. And I was listening to another podcast, and it was about finding your spirit guide, but I already felt like I knew who my spirit guide was. So instead I was, as I was listening, I said, Spirit, send me a sign of what to do next. So put that out there. And then later that night, I was at a meeting with this mothers club, and I was walking in with somebody I didn't know, which was kind of rare since I was the president. I felt like I knew most people at that point. And I said, hey, how was your weekend? Chit chat. And she's like, it was great. I just got attuned to Reiki. And I was like, okay, that is my sign. And it's just, It was just one of those visceral moments. And it was less than 12 hours after that first direct ask. So I got the Reiki Master's information, and it happened to be the only clear weekend I had because, busy mom life, and, the rest is literally history.
That's amazing. And it's amazing that it happened in the place where you initially, I always say negative things happen and they're hard, and we're in a human body and it feels hard, but they happen for a reason. There's lessons here. And it was hard, and you had to step back, and it was causing you physical stress, and you were probably I don't need this. And then that was the place where you were opened.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And to be honest with you, I love your insight, because I never made that connection until this very moment of putting myself into a place that, I probably other people might have shrank away, this isn't embarrassing or whatever you feel, but I chose to move forward, and I was rewarded with this great contact.
Yes. I have an inclination for avoidance or to shrink back.
and I have to force myself to be brave. So if I had been going through drama, I would be like, goodbye. I never want to see any of you people again.
So easy.
But
Yes.
that you still went back as not the president, but like to participate is yes. And you were rewarded. Absolutely. You describe yourself as always intuitive.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as a young child, my poor mother, I'm an only child. And, there was kids in the neighborhood. My mom would be like, oh, go play with so-and-so. I'm like, no, I don't like them. And it wasn't because like I was being a snob or anything. It was just like energetically, I could feel that they weren't my people. And this is like coming from a 3-year-old. So I've always had that sense about people. And what's been challenging is when I get it wrong about the person. And that's like, ooh, what's going on with my connection? But it's like a lesson that needs to be learned for me.
Yes, absolutely. You have 2 children. Do you sense that they have that intuitive nature too, or are they?
So in my opinion, sometimes like energy within my family, it's like a little bit too close. So it's hard for me to really pick up on things because everybody's just like all over each other. I do think both of them are extremely sensitive, but not in the like crying all the time, which they do. But like they are, I do think they are both individually sensitive beings in their own gifted ways. My oldest is now 9, and I've when she was 8, I attuned her to Reiki. So it was really amazing. It was on Mother's Day, which is like extra special. But yeah, it was time for her too. She was ready, and I gave her the option. She decided, and I said, let's do it. So,
and she understood
so she definitely understood. I've been doing Reiki for 5.5 years now, and I started giving her Reiki immediately once I was attuned. She was like my first practice, and she's been getting Reiki every single night since then. So
I love that. You mentioned they're criers. I'm a crier too. I think a lot of highly sensitive, intuitive people are like, the waterworks. I can't help it. This is the body that I'm in. And yeah, it just flows. And now you're a Reiki master.
Yeah, essentially, it just means, not that it just means, but like there's a practicality of it. Like I have the title, and I'm a Reiki master in 2 different lineages. Usui is the more traditional path that people tend to know about. And then I'm also with Holy Fire, which is just like an upgraded energy almost, I would describe it as, to be simple. But yeah, it means I can teach Reiki to you. I can attune you to Reiki, and I'm knowledgeable about it, obviously. But it's more so, not every Reiki master is going to be a teacher. It's almost like you're choosing to live this spiritual path and allowing yourself to be open to the universe to see where it takes you.
Beautiful. And after that, were you led to tarot?
Yeah.
Was it all along like at the same time?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Oh, okay. All at the same time. You got hit with all these spiritual.
No, exactly.
Moments.
So what's interesting is like I grew up going to a Christian summer camp, and where it's pretty down the middle with values and teachings, but with tarot cards, it was pretty clear, like you shouldn't be using these things. So I was always like really scared about using them. But during the COVID pandemic, it just like kept coming into my field. And I was like, ooh, I don't want this. Like, this is scary. But I finally was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I started with oracle cards. I still love oracle card readings. And then I moved into tarot. But it took me about a full year and a half to really dive in and do the proper learning and then present it to everybody else, give readings to other people.
How did you, what's the training for that?
Honestly, for me, it's about learning how I learn. And, I would go to the library and get books about tarot and read them, and it just wasn't sinking in. So for me, it's always been about finding the right teacher. So I took a training with somebody and I did her level 1 and her level 2. And then it was just practice, practice, practice.
Nice. And how do you practice on your family? On
Everybody, anybody.
Yeah.
So I just put it out on, my social media feeds. When I was beginning, I was like, I just learned this. I'd love to have some practice. So it was wonderful because it helped me build my business. And I could hop on a Zoom call or I could be in person and kind of figure out the kinks of how this stuff works as well with, and read the cards. And, I've gotten it wrong in the past and, other things have been challenging for me, but tarot's hard to read. There's so many stories that can come out and I'm still learning, even though I do this. And that's what's fun about it. So.
Right. I think I'm Italian. I grew up Catholic. So I hear tarot and I'm immediately like, oh my God, I'm going to end up in like the devil's den or something. But the truth is, I think what's great about all of this stuff is it's not meant to be scary. It's not meant to be dark. We're here to learn. And if you're brought to that, what you do, and like you say, you're still learning or you've gotten it wrong, you're helping that person. You're giving them something that for them to think about that they were meant to hear and then analyze what they're meant to have learned on the path so far and going forward. So I think it's a tool for self-analyzing and learning, which is what we're here to do. And it's not meant to be scary or...
Right. And to be honest with you, like, I agree. I'm just a vessel. I pull the cards and I'm just a vessel for this. People lie. The cards never lie is what I've learned over time. And
I love that.
Oh, big time. And that's interesting because it brings me to like, I would rather read for you, someone I don't know at all, versus like my best friend I've known, because she's more likely to hide something that she might not be ready to reveal. Whereas there's a safety with being a stranger. I could be like, oh, it looks like you're going through a difficult time in this area. You might be able to say yes and ready. That validation is so powerful. But I have to have trust that the person, whoever it is, will hear the message. And even if they say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, just allow them their process to have that message sink in. But validation is such an incredibly powerful tool. And that's all I'm doing for people. It's just, I'm a channel. That's it.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like they were meant to hear that message. Absolutely.
I agree.
I always, if I keep seeing a recurring number, I'll Google like the spiritual meaning. And I'm like, I know my guides are going to take me to the message I'm supposed to hear. Mm-hmm. Like, could be so many different meanings. There could be like, oh, that's just a random message. And I'm like, no, the one that I'm supposed to see is coming to me. It's just meant to be. And I feel like in the same way, they're meant to find you. They're meant to hear that. And they were led there. And that leads me to Akashic Records, because I think a lot of people, people have heard of tarot, of course, but and they maybe certainly heard of Reiki, but this is different, and I think it's so cool. Can you describe it?
Yeah. So the Akashic Records are basically, it's a library, for lack of a better term, of all the information, past, present, future, for all of the things. So you and I in this conversation, it's already in the records. It's already been there. So what people can do is they can see a Akashic Records practitioner and, maybe you're exploring a past life that needs healing. Maybe you're looking for information for the future, maybe a validation for this current time. But you're just getting access to all timelines, and like, it's almost mind-blowing how much you can learn. So the way I visualize it is I walk into this like narrow room, and it's like this big window, like a church window, like one of those big, I don't know, it's like half a circle is big. And I walk up and it's almost like the librarian, but it's really the records master, the records guardian. And I say, can I come in? And then they say yes or no. And then they point me into like what aisle I should go to. And I grab a book off the shelf, and it's always blank when I open it. And then I start asking the person's question or my question. And I say it over and over. And then like the images start to like go through my head, and I almost start channeling versus like, this is like maybe a misconception that people have. Like, I don't see things like in front of my face. I won't be like, your dead grandma's here. Like, I can't see that. But like in my mind, the story starts going and it just starts flowing like a conversation like we're having, but it's not me. It's just like flowing through.
As if it's written on the page, but you're seeing.
Yes. It's almost like a movie, but not. It's hard. It's really hard to understand because, and that's the thing, like, if you are a listener and you're like, oh, I do Akashic, but I don't do it that way, that's cool. Like all of us tap into these things differently. So the way I do it is going to be different from the way you would do it. And it's still valid.
Right.
It's building that confidence.
And would you say that, so there's all of these timelines and it's all this, like this moment was pre-written. Would you say the future is already written, or it depends on certain actions that you're going to take today?
Oh, so we always have free will. So I can, I could have said no to this podcast and been like,
I'm so glad you did it.
Me too. And that's a certain path that if I said no, it went down, my life would go down this path. But I said yes. So, who knows what way the path is going to be going in. So I always have those options. And like in my mind's eye, like what I'm seeing right now is like I'm like Tarzan of the jungle, and I'm swinging from vine to vine, and it's like, what's the next one I'm going to catch? So all the options are out there. It's just like, what am I going to grab next? And maybe it will link back to something else, but it's all there. And it's
so
just
life is like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, as it should be.
And you're able to tap into what's been written before, even past lives.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where, some people are like, why am I scared of water? Like maybe that's something we could dig into. And it's like, oh, you drowned. Like, that's why you're scared of water. And there's some of the people who have read for me, they can see some really like bring you back to the moment of that life's death. And there can be some heavy things. But at the same time, those can be really healing stories. And again, give validation to like, this makes no sense. Why do I feel this way now? So it's really cool.
Yes. And it'll help you, if you process past life traumas, it heals you in this life, right?
And going forward.
Yes. I love how you got the Reiki sign. Do you have any other signs that have stood out?
Honestly, like I'm always seeing signs, like what you said with the numbers. I'm just seeing two numbers right now, 11, 11, and 22. So I'm going to tell you the story that happened last night. I'm doing a metaphysical mentorship class, and it's a group of 5-6 women. And last night, the leader did a channel for us. She was channeling for us, and she said, we can all ask questions. And my question was, why do I keep seeing 2, 2? And she channeled, she's like, well, you already know. I'm like, no, I don't, because that's why I'm asking. And it turns out the 2, 2 for me are these angels of love. And it was like, whenever you see us, we want you to be like, remind of love and joy and happiness. And honestly, I need that. Yes. All of us need it, but I need that a lot. And then another girl in the class or in the group was like, I keep seeing like, who's this guy that keeps talking to me? I don't know who it is. Turns out it was a dragon, a former version of herself. And it comes through to her in ones. So it's just like these numbers communicate with us all the time, but it doesn't have to be numbers. It can be animals. For me, birds are a big one. Huge, like hawks are huge for me. Owls are big because they're my death guide to like help people cross over if they are in need of helping to be crossed. There's like, I've asked my father, both of my parents have died. I've asked my father to send me a dime, and he sent like, I get a dime on the ground, and it's like, I'm like, oh, cool. But it was like
I love it.
a weird one. It was like, it wasn't typical.
When you mentioned the dragon, is that her in a past life, or that's a version of her that she has to work through?
It was just a soul part for her.
Okay.
So I believe that's like what the message was. But it's just like at one point, her soul was a dragon.
Okay. And how would you describe that to? Even I'm like, what does that really mean?
So this goes into like shamanism a little bit, which I know bits and pieces of, but like I don't call myself a shaman, but I am aware and I do some practicing with it. But if you think of our soul as like a whole part, some parts get left over in different lifetimes, with different people in this lifetime. So to be whole, you got to sometimes call those pieces back. So for this, friend of mine, I think it was more about acknowledging that there's that piece of her that she wasn't quite aware of. And that's so empowering. So maybe she can call on that dragon energy when she needs that fierceness or that fantasy. Who knows?
I love that. I love this idea, and it makes so much sense to me because I believe that when you go to sleep at night, you can meet with your spirit guides or loved ones who've passed on another plane. And that's why I always say things always seem better in the morning. You might not remember these visits, you don't remember these meetings, but they're happening every night. And that's why things often seem better in the morning. Like you had a great session, you talked about things and you feel better and you're reviewing your life and what you're learning. And there's this, we're so confined by the three-dimensional world that people would say, what if your grandmother or grandfather is reincarnated? It doesn't matter. There's a piece of them that can still meet with me at night while they're also living this other life. We have to get out of this three-dimensional world. And so there are pieces of us that can appear in other people's dreams, even while we're living this life, and can be in the past, can be in the present. Yes, it makes so much sense to me.
Absolutely. But I would argue with you that sometimes you don't wake up well rested because your body's been out of your soul's been out of your body, and you're like all over the world, very busy up there. So I deal with a lot of fatigue, and when I am extra tired, I'm like, please let me just stay in my body tonight.
Yes. That's funny. And I'll wake up some days and I don't feel better. And I'm like, what's going to happen today? Like, I feel like they warned me, like something's going to piss me off. And sure enough, I'm like, on the days when I'm like, ugh, what do you have for me today? It's nothing terrible, but it's just like one of those days. And I'm like, they warned me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They always do. They always have our back. My father comes to me more often, but I don't know if because he's more fresher dead for a little. He's been gone for about 1.5 years now, maybe 2 years. I forget. Thank you. The morning he died, he was talking to me. He died in a hospice house, and he died overnight, so I wasn't there with him in that moment. And, life, it was a day I had to still go grocery shopping because my house was empty.
Right,
and, life goes on.
Yeah, there are going to be people probably at your house.
Yep, people at the house, all that stuff. Well, it's COVID time, so it was a little bit different. Still like towards the end, but still it was different. And I had just had COVID while he was actively dying. So I was actually separated from him in those last 5 days, which was very hard.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I was at the grocery store and I was listening to my iPods and AirPods, whatever they're called. And I heard the song by Ray LaMontagne, which is "You Are the Best Thing." Like, you are the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I was like, oh, I love this song. And then at that moment, I'm in the ice cream aisle. Of course, obviously, we're in the ice cream aisle. And my eyes immediately get drawn to frozen pudding ice cream. Now, if you're not a New Englander, you don't know what that is, but it's like a very specific New England, and that's where I'm from, ice cream flavor. And it's like this rum-soaked ice, like rum dried fruit ice cream. Sounds gross, but trust me, like try it. It's pretty good. But my dad and I loved frozen pudding ice cream. So I knew at that moment, because it's not common to see at the grocery store. I saw that, heard the song, and that was my message, like clear as day.
Yes. The song could have played any other time when you were in the grocery store, but that it was this food that you connect to him and that song was playing at that exact moment. That is not a coincidence.
No, not at all.
Right.
But in talking of signs, like, they can talk to us through music as well.
Yes,
so like
absolutely.
That's not my number one, but it certainly happens. I think I'm more of like a nature girl like, so I'm always like, let's see what birds are in the sky. Who wants to talk to me? Like, where are the aliens? Like I'm always like versus like jamming out.
Do you work for, like you mentioned, owls and using them to help people cross over? Do you volunteer for hospice?
I do volunteer for hospice. Okay. So it's interesting. When I got attuned to Reiki, I wasn't really sure why I was there. I knew it would be like a self-healing tool, but I realized at the end of the training, the teacher was like, these are some things you can do. And it said hospice volunteer training. So I was like, that's it. This is what I'm going to do. Yeah. I know why I'm here. And it turns out, I do a little bit of it still, but I needed to go through a lot of death training and a lot of death understanding to help me get through my second parent's death and to heal my first parent's death. And again, so as part of my training, they're like, let's bring you into the hospice house. You haven't been here, because my mother also passed away in the same house. And the person who was training me was like, there's somebody here who needs it. Let me bring you to their room. And it was the room that my mother died in.
Oh.
So of course, like, maybe that was my mom or my team. Like, who knows? It doesn't matter. But I knew I needed to get over that hump of being in the space and then going into her room, because, a year later, I was there as the patient's daughter. It's crazy.
Right. Wow. No coincidence there, too.
No, not at all. And I told the guy, I'm like, of course it's this room. This is the room my mom died in. Of course I'll be in here. Like, duh.
Right. Absolutely. And how does the owl play in?
So there is a term called psychopomp. And a psychopomp, if you look it up in like ancient Egypt, they are the people who walk you through death, like passing over. So there's lots of different roles. When you have earthbound spirits who haven't crossed over, a psychopomp can come through and help cross that spirit if they need it. They can open up the portal to have them go through. To do that work, you need a guide, because you still need protection. So while I was learning this, I had a meditation, and through that meditation, I saw Owl Man. And I am a cart before the horse type of girl. I do things and then learn about it. And learning about, I wanted to help people in the active passing stage, because it's really hard to die. I don't think a lot of people realize, like, if you're sick, it's hard to die. So I really wanted to help people get over the hump. I didn't realize that you could do it with earthbound spirits. And so I don't do that, but you need a guide to have your back when you're in those spaces.
Okay. And Owl Man is your guide?
Owl Man is mine. And he is if you look it up, he is a death guide. And I did not know that at the time when I saw him in my meditation.
Right. And is it, this is scary to a lot of people, understandably. Yeah. Were you, when you were meditating, when you met him, it felt right? Or did you feel scared?
I felt surprised. If anything, I was like, oh, that's not what I would expect to come through.
What are you doing here?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I think it was this was in a shamanic journey. So it was they led us and I had one guide, and then all of a sudden this other guide came through. So, only certain people are going to be called to that particular work, because like you said, it's scary. And there's certain aspects to it I I don't want to clear portals of scary things. Like I have friends who do that. And if someone needs that help, I refer out. And so no, it's not scary, but yeah, you have to be called to do any of this stuff.
And where can everyone find you? And if there anything else you would like to leave listeners or viewers with?
I would say, let me see if I have something. Always believe. Believe in the unseen and believe in miracles. And the more that you accept what you believe, the more it's going to come. It's like a muscle. We got to work it out. So if you want to start believing, just ask for a sign and be specific. Don't say like, send me a sign like I did. Don't do that. Like that might not have worked out so well. But you can say something like, send me a cardinal on my way home, or it's today to know this answer. Be on the lookout and then believe, because they always have our back.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect message. Thank you so much. And everyone can find you at, it's called Ashley Page Healing.
Yeah. So my website, my website is Ashley Page, like PAGE healing.com. And then my Instagram is ashleypage.reiki. And I don't do just Reiki. So like, you know, I love to do everything, a little bit of everything. So my session, it's hard to like say, well, it's going to be a little tarot. It's going to be a little Reiki. It's going to be a little Akashic. So who knows what.
Yes. But it's all healing. So.
It's all healing. And it's from the highest and best. That's what I want for my people.
Best intentions. Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to Signs from the Other Side. You can find me, Fern Ronay, on all social media at Fern Ronay, RONAY. I love hearing from you, and I love hearing your stories of signs. And if you would like to hear more episodes of this show, please be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts. Thank you again, and sweet dreams.